180 kilometers of water, closer than London to Paris. Across it flows 92% of the world's most advanced chips. Every NVIDIA H100, every Apple A series, one island, one company, and on the other side, 22 amphibious assault ships. To understand the most important choke point on Earth, understand one company. TSMC, founded in 1987 by Morris Chang in Hsinchu, on Taiwan's western coast, facing the strait. In 2024, TSMC posted roughly $90 billion in revenue, a 34% jump in a single year. It is the only company manufacturing 3-nanometer chips in volume. The only one. Its sole supplier of EUV lithography machines, ASML of the Netherlands. Between 2020 and 2024, TSMC bought $23 billion of them. Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom. Every American chip giant depends on fabs 200 kilometers from Chinese missile bases. Here is the math nobody wants to say out loud. According to TrendForce's 2024 foundry data, TSMC produces 92% of all chips below the 3-nanometer node, roughly 90% of logic chips below 7 nanometers. Not most, not a majority, almost all of them. Samsung makes some 7-nanometer parts. Intel is years behind on EUV. China's SMIC is stuck at 14 nanometers, blocked by US export controls from buying ASML's advanced machines. That leaves the 92%. One company, one island, one coast. Now look at the water. The Taiwan Strait sees roughly 480 commercial vessels transit per day. Approximately 88% of the world's largest container ships by tonnage pass through the strait at least once a year. The chips do not fly out, they sail. Through the same 180-kilometer corridor, the People's Liberation Army Navy has been drilling to close. In August 2022, after the Pelosi visit, China fired 11 Dongfeng ballistic missiles that overflew the island itself. PLA Navy formations surrounded Taiwan on all four sides, simultaneously. That was not an exercise, it was a rehearsal. 92% of the world's most advanced silicon, 480 ships a day, one strait, one choke point, and one navy practicing the close. In January 2024, Bloomberg Economics published a number almost nobody outside Washington, and Taipei read carefully. A full Chinese blockade of Taiwan would erase $10 trillion from global GDP. 10 trillion, roughly 10% of world output. 5 times the cost of the 2008 financial crisis. Why so much? Because you cannot unplug Taiwan. Apple alone has over $200 billion of annual revenue exposed to the strait, per Morgan Stanley. Every iPhone chip, every Mac chip, plus Foxconn assembly. Foxconn assembles roughly 70% of the world's iPhones, with the Zhengzhou complex employing more than 200,000 workers at peak. NVIDIA's entire AI accelerator line stops. H100, Blackwell, MI300, gone. Data centers stop expanding, AI training pauses for years, and the military picture is not theoretical. The US Department of Defense's 2024 China Military Power Report counts 22 PLA amphibious assault and landing ships, roughly 130,000 active Chinese Marines and naval infantry, the largest amphibious force on Earth. In August 2022, after Pelosi, China fired 23 ballistic missiles in 7 days. 11 landed inside Taiwan's exclusive economic zone, the first PLA missiles to overfly Taiwan in the modern era. $10 trillion, 22 ships, 130,000 Marines. The blockade is not a possibility, it is a rehearsal already in progress. The Western response began on August 9, 2022. President Biden signed the CHIPS and Science Act, $52 billion in direct subsidies for domestic American semiconductor manufacturing, plus a 25% investment tax credit. The goal was simple: move some of that 92% off the island. TSMC responded. In Arizona, outside Phoenix, TSMC has committed roughly $40 billion to a 3-fab complex. 4-nanometer production began in 2025. 2 more fabs, targeting 2-nanometer and the A16 node, scheduled by 2028. In Japan, TSMC's Kumamoto fab, a joint venture with Sony and Denso, opened in February 2024. $20 billion price tag, 12 to 28 nanometer chips. In Europe, TSMC announced an $11 billion fab in Dresden, Germany, in August 2023, partnered with Bosch, Infineon, and NXP, automotive-grade chips by 2027. But here is the catch. None of these fabs make the bleeding-edge node. The cutting-edge, 3 nanometer, 2 nanometer, stays in Taiwan. Industry analysts estimate it will take until 2030 before non-Taiwan fabs produce even 10% of advanced node volume. $52 billion in US subsidies, $70 billion in fab investment across 3 continents, years of construction, and in 2026, Taiwan still makes 92% of the chips. The race is not over, it has barely started. There is a name for this arrangement, the Silicon Shield, coined by author Craig Addison in 2001, invoked repeatedly by Taiwanese officials, including former President Tsai Ing-wen. The logic: Beijing cannot afford to invade Taiwan, because invasion would either destroy TSMC's fabs in the fighting, or force the West to retaliate so severely that China's own economy collapses. The chips are the deterrent, but the Silicon Shield is also a trap. The same logic that protects Taiwan binds the entire global economy to 180 kilometers of contested water. Taiwan's 2024 defense budget hit $19 billion, 2.5% of GDP, a record high. Cumulative US arms sales to Taiwan since 2017, $30 billion. F-16Vs, Abrams tanks, HIMARS, Harpoons, and on the other side, PLA exercises grow larger every year. The clock is running. Next on choke point, the Bosphorus. 28 miles of water through the middle of Istanbul. The only way out of the Black Sea. 3% of global oil. 48,000 ships a year. One Turkish president holding the keys under a 1936 treaty older than most of the countries that use it. We break down the Montreux Convention, the grain corridor, the Russian tankers that cannot leave. Subscribe. Every week we open a new choke point.